So when you talk of moment of inertia, what we are trying to say is basically it's a rotational counterpart for mass. So if you take kinetic energy, suppose you have a rigid body here, you take a small portion of it, and then if you are moving it, its kinetic energy is half m r squared omega squared. So now this m r squared is basically what is the moment of inertia. So the moment of inertia ICM is equal to integral of r squared dm. So this is basically what we need to know. Now we don't need to derive the moment of inertia for different solids. We just need to understand how to work with it. So I'll just quickly revise the moment of inertias of different solids, and we need to learn how to work with it. Now it's important that you know how to work with integral of r squared dm, because you get questions based that for certain regular solids. Suppose you have a ring. Okay, so suppose you have a ring, then the moment of inertia of the ring is equal to mr squared, provided the axis is perpendicular to the plane. Now if you want to shift the axis here, then we'll talk of something called as the parallel axis theorem. Parallel axis theorem is applicable only from center of mass. It is not applicable for anywhere else. So according to the parallel axis theorem, moment of inertia about any axis is equal to ICM plus mr squared. So in this case, ICM itself is mr squared. So mr squared plus mr squared will make it 2mr squared. So moment of inertia about an axis perpendicular to the plane passing through this point is 2mr squared. About the center is mr squared. Okay, so this is the parallel axis theorem. Then for the ring itself, if this is the ring, then I can talk of an axis here. I'll call this IY. I can talk of an axis here. I'll call this IZ, IX. So I'll have IZ is equal to IX plus IY. Iz is equal to Ix plus Iy. So if Iz is equal to Ix plus Iy, Iz I know, Iz is mr squared. So mr squared will become equal to 2 times Ix. So from there I can say Ix is equal to mr squared by 2. This is also equal to mr squared by 2. So we need to know how to work with this, and then we need to know how to do these kind of manipulations. In 2000, I mean in the January exam that you had, you got a question like this: a rod of length L has a density rho x given by A plus B times x by L the whole square, where A and B are constants and 0 less than x less than L. Then the value of this is a question related to center of mass. They both are related. Then the value of x. So they are asking you for the center of mass of the rod. Where is the center of mass? Center of mass is integral r dm divided by integral dm. This is RCM. Then you have moment of inertia I is equal to integral r squared dm. So this thing is not there, okay, here, and this r becomes r squared. So you have this, you have this. Okay, now for this, can you find out what the moment of inertia for this rod is? There is a rod, the density of the rod is given by this. I am asking you to find out the moment of inertia of the rod. Okay, so if I am asking you to find out the moment of inertia of this, so let this be my origin 0, 0. Let me take a small mass here. So the dm will be dx into the area into the density. So from there I can say that integral of r squared will become x squared dm can be written as integral x squared into dm. Dm is equal to dx into area into density. Density is what? A plus b x by L the whole square. So when I work this out, it will become integral of, let A be as it is. A is constant, so I'll just bring it out. Then I have x square A dx plus integral b x power 4 by L square dx. The limits of the integral are from 0 to L, 0 to L. So when I work this out, it becomes small a capital A x cubed by 3 plus b times b by 5 x power 5 by L square. Now x is equal to L, I supply. So when I supply, it becomes small a capital A L cubed by 3 plus b by 5 L cubed. So L cubed common, it becomes L cubed A common. So it becomes A by 3 plus B by 5 L cubed. So it's all about performing this integral, nothing else. Okay. Same way for the center of mass also. But center of mass, you have to do two integrals. One is integral x dm, the other one is this one. So I hope you are able to understand this. So this is how you can find out the moment of inertia for anything. Now for a disk is equal to mr squared by 2 about an axis perpendicular to the disk. Perpendicular to the disk. Remember, moment of inertia is a tensor quantity. It has some directional properties. But it does not add like scalars. I'm sorry, does not add like vectors. It in fact adds like scalars, that is ix plus iy is equal to iz. This is like a scalar addition. In case of vectors, it would have been ix square plus iy square is equal to iz. This is vector addition, this is scalar addition. Okay, so mr squared by 2. So now if I look at an axis like this, then it becomes mr squared by 4. If I have an axis like this, it is mr squared by 4. So this is how it works. Now here they ask you some questions. I have seen these questions in the JEE mains, JEE advanced specifically. Suppose there is a disk of mass m and it has a radius r. Now a smaller disk of radius r by 4 is scooped out. What is the moment of inertia? The second question, there is a disk like this. This thing is scooped out. This is the center of the disk. This is r by 2. Now this has a mass m. This has a mass m. What is its moment of inertia? Okay, so these are two different questions. In this, before the hollow, the moment mass was m. In this, after the hollow, mass is m. So how do you generally work out these questions? The way you work out this question is moment of inertia of the disk minus the moment of inertia of removed portions. Moment of inertia of disk minus moment of inertia of removed portion. So now when you do that here, it is easy. But when you do the same thing here, it gets complicated. So anyway, let me first work it out for here, then I will work it out for there. Before that, I can wait for 2 minutes so that you try to work it out first and then let us see. So here there is a disk of mass m and r by 4 is removed. What is the moment of inertia? So for the disk about an axis perpendicular. So about an axis perpendicular, so the initial moment of inertia is mr squared by 2. For the disk, r by 4 is being removed. Now if r by 4 is being removed, the mass that is being removed is equal to m by 16. So it becomes m by 16 into r squared by 2. So that will be another r squared by 16 into 1 by 2. Okay, but this is the moment of inertia of the removed portion about this axis. Now you have to take it from here to here. So now this is r by 4, this is 3r by 4. So plus m by 16 r squared by 16 into 9, 3r by 4, so r squared 9, this much. So now you get the moment of inertia. So now from this you have to subtract this amount. Okay, so I hope you are able to understand. This is the moment of inertia of this disk. This is when you do parallel axis theorem for the axis from this point to this point. Then from the original disk you remove this. Okay, here the challenge is different. Here the challenge is that mass after you remove this is m. Okay, so here the radius is r by 2. So the initial, so r by 2. So if you remove r by 2, then is the mass is that much. That means what? Initial radius is pi r squared. Initial area is pi r squared. Now you have removed pi into r squared by 4. So what you have is 3 pi r squared by 4. So the mass 3 pi r squared by 4 corresponds to m. So the mass for pi r squared will correspond to 4m by 3. That means the initial mass of the disk will become 4m by 3 into r squared by 2. This is the initial moment of inertia. From this, now you are going to subtract this. So it is 4m by 3. 4m by 3. This will become what? R squared by 4. So r squared by 4. So it will become into 1 upon 4. Into 1 upon 4. So this will be the mass of this disk. This into r squared. I took r by 2 there. So it is r squared by 2 into 4. So this is going to be its moment of inertia about this axis. Now again you have to do parallel axis minus. So I can say it is m by 3 into, this is r by 2. So this is also r by 2. So r squared by 4. So now this will give you the moment of inertia of this particular disk with the hollow. Okay. So understand this question. Mass is given, hollow is made. Understand this question. Mass is given after hollow. Okay. Mass is given after hollow. So there is a difference in the way you work with them. Okay. So I hope this is clear. If something is not clear, please put a message so that I can see. Okay. Okay. So if this is done, then let's move on. So then you have moment of inertia of cylinder. So you have cylinder. There are two types of cylinders. You have solid cylinders and you have hollow cylinders. For solid cylinders, about this it is m r squared by 2. For hollow cylinders come from a ring. So it is equal to m r squared. Okay. Then about this axis, it becomes m l squared by 12. About here. So if you want to shift it here, it becomes m l squared by 12 plus m l squared by 4. So when you take LCM, it becomes m l squared by 3. Okay. So about, you have about this axis and you have about this axis, about this axis and about this axis. Then you have about solid spheres. Solid spheres is 2 by 5 mr squared. Then you have hollow sphere 2 by 3 mr squared. Okay. So now there is a question that came in the January exam. So there are 3 spheres like this, 3 spheres like this, which are touching each other to form a right angle equilateral triangle. 3 spheres, each of them having a mass m, and they are having a diameter d. They are stuck together such that the lines connecting the centers form an equilateral triangle. The side of the triangle will be how much? Side of the triangle will be, this is 1 diameter, right? So this will be d, this will be d, and this will be d. The question is the ratio I0 by IA. I0 by IA. They have given A here, B here, C here, and I0 is the centroid. So they are asking you to find out the moment of the ratio of I0 by IA. Can you please try to find it out? Take 2 minutes and then try to get it. About this, first you know the moment of inertia of each of them. So try to find out each one of this. It's a solid sphere, so it is 2 by 5 mr squared. Now what you have to do is you have to find out this distance. You have to find out that distance and then again do parallel axis theorem. So you have to do that parallel axis theorem and multiply 3 times. So it will become 3 into 2 by 5 mr squared. Now the question is, what is the distance from the centroid? So the distance from the centroid you can find out is how much? So you have so you have a triangle. You have a triangle. You have this. This is A. So this is what? A by root 3. So A by root 3. No. That you divide it into 3 parts and then you give 2 parts. So 2 to
Students, please wait for a minute.
Chidambaram?
Yes, sir. Now you are unmuted. I'm able to hear you, sir. You can start. Sir, you are in mute condition, sir. Sir, kindly unmute yourself, sir. Okay, you are back now.
I don't know if I'm creating some trouble. I don't know if I'm able to, you guys are able to hear me.
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you, sir.
Yes, Chidambaram.
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you and see you. See the screen, sir.
Okay, so yeah, okay. So this is how you can find out the moment ratio of here. So now you want to find out. Okay, okay, fine. Thank you. So now if you want to find out the moment of inertia about this point, now what you do, you have the moment of inertia of this parallel axis theorem. So it will become 3 times 2 by 5 mr squared plus 2 times you have to do parallel axis for only 2 spheres to this point. So 2 times md squared. So this ratio you have to find out. So little bit of calculation you will have to do, but with little bit of perseverance you will be able to get it. Please try to complete it. The problem that many of us face is when we do practice, we don't complete it, but when we go for the exam, we have to complete it. Only then so you feel you don't know, but it is just a feeling. Okay. So this is what of inertia. We'll bring inertia everywhere else. I'll just stop with this and then I will move. Now questions which come, I will explain to you. The first question is, now I have a cylinder here. Okay, I have a cylinder here. I have wrapped a string around the cylinder and I have released it. So so if you are able to do it, great. If you are not able to do it, I will help you out. So here, first understand, always draw free body diagram first. What is the free body diagram? You have mg acting downwards, you have tension acting upwards. So I can say mg minus t is equal to ma. Now when the body is going to fall down, it is unroll rotation. So for the rotational, torque is equal to I into alpha. So what is torque equal to? Torque is equal to tension into R. This is equal to, so now this is going to rotate about this. Because it is going to rotate about this, it becomes m r squared alpha. So now from here, this tension can be found out immediately. So I go up and I understand that mg minus ma by 2 is equal to ma. R into alpha is equal to a. So from here I can get mg is equal to 3 by 2 ma. So from here I can get a is equal to 2 by 3 g. This is the standard method to do all questions of this kind. Okay. So if you are able to understand this, then let me move. Now there are this Atwood machine. This is what is called as an Atwood machine. Atwood machine is basically, if you have a mass m1 on this side and you have a mass m2 on this side, and the moment of inertia of this is I and the radius is r. Now the question is, what is the acceleration? This is m1, this is m2. Let us assume that m1 is greater than m2. This was a question which this is a standard question. The standard question came in 2020 January exam. The standard question was there. What is the acceleration of the system? So the way you go ahead is to first draw free body diagram. M1g is acting downwards, M2g is acting downwards. This is a single continuous string. Single continuous string, tension will be the same. Okay, single continuous string, tension will be the same. This is the case whenever this is massless. Only when the pulley is massless, tension will be the same on both sides. If the pulley has a mass, then the tension won't be the same on both sides. There will be a difference in tension on both sides. Okay, so now we can just work with it. So now because M1 is more, I'll assume it will come down. So M1G minus T1 is equal to M1A for the body. Second one, T2 minus M2G is equal to M2A for this roll. This thing I can say that T1 minus T2R. So you see this tension is trying to roll it in this direction. This tension is going to try to roll it in the opposite direction. So the net will be T1 minus T2R is equal to I into alpha. So from here I can now, here itself I add them. When I add them, I'll get M1 minus M2G minus T1 minus T2 is equal to M1 plus M2 into A. So to substitute for T1 minus T2, I'll get it from here. So I'll get M1 minus M2G is equal to M1 plus M2 into A plus, this goes the other side and becomes plus I into alpha by R. Alpha is equal to A by R. So I by R squared into A. Now from here I can get A is equal to M1 minus M2G whole divided by M1 plus M2 plus I by R squared. So this is the answer for the question. This is the acceleration. So they are asking you what is the angular speed of the wheel when M1 descends by a distance h. So from here you can find out now. They are asking you for angular speed. So angular speed means what distance by an h. So v squared minus u squared equals 2ah. So you can get the value for v. Value for v is 2ah. So here it becomes root over of 2 times h into this much. So that will give you the answer. There is only one option. Basically, you don't have to do anything. If you look at the options given, all the options, there are 2 options with M1 plus M2. There are 2 options with M1 minus M2. There are 2 with GH only will be the answer. So directly you can click on this. Yeah, I hope you are able to understand this. So called as the Atwood machine. Another question which came, okay, forget about the other question. So here there's a disc. Disc has a moment of inertia I. It has a radius R. Now there is a string. It's a simple pulley. On one side you have M1. On one side you have M2. So the way you handle this question is generally what we do is we put T on this side and we put T on this side. But this is not the case. If the pulley has a mass, tension on both sides will be different. So there is T1 here, there is T2 here. Okay, so now you can work it out. Now, if the pulley has a mass and there is no friction, even then tension will be the same. If pulley has a mass, but no friction, then same, T1 is equal to T2. But here, because it is rolling is not possible without friction. So automatically there is friction. So the moment there is friction, T1 on this side, T1 on this side will be different. Okay, so this is how you work with it. Okay, so the other question which had come with a similar concept is this. So I have a pulley here. I am wrapping a string around this. Okay, now M1 is there here. It is released. What is the acceleration? So this has a moment of inertia I. It has a radius R. So here again T acts up, T acts here. So I can say M1G minus T is equal to M1A. Then for the disk here, the pulley here, I can say that T into R is equal to I into alpha. So from there I can say T is equal to I by R squared A, substituted there. So you will get M1G is equal to M1 plus I by R squared A. So from there cross multiply with the value for A. Okay. So I hope this you are able to understand. Check if there is any doubt, any message has been put. If any message has been put, I'll answer. If not, no. Good. Yeah, then the next kind of question that comes is bodies rolling down inclined planes. So here is a body which is rolling down inclined planes. Now suppose this is a sphere. Suppose this is a solid sphere. So if it's a solid sphere, the moment of inertia is 2 by 5 mr squared. So let us see what happens. So first thing, understand that I draw the free body diagram. Mg is acting this way, so which can be resolved into components. So this is equal to mg sine theta and this is equal to mg cos theta. Okay, now there is frictional force here. Frictional force is equal to mu mg cos theta. Frictional force there is mu mg cos theta. Okay, so now the moment I have this, I am now ready to work. I have mg sine theta minus frictional force mu mg cos theta is equal to ma. But now my problem is I don't know the value for mu, even if mu is given for rolling depending on the solids. Yeah, so for rolling, different types of solids have different mu for the same surface. What I'm trying to say is that mu depends upon geometry. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Okay, let's see. So it is because of this mu mg cos theta that the body is rolling. So if the body is rolling, if if the body is rolling, then what will I say? I can say mu mg cos theta into r is equal to I alpha. What is I equal to? I is equal to 2 by 5 mr squared alpha. 1r gets cancelled here. R into alpha is equal to a. So from here I can say mu mg cos theta is equal to 2 by 5 ma. So when I substitute that here 2 by 5 ma, what will I get? I'll get mg sine theta is equal to 7 by 5 ma. So gets cancelled and I'll get a is equal to 5 by 7 g sine theta. Okay, so please understand this. Okay, so A is equal to 5. Now different solids will have different moment of inertias. Because of this difference in moments of inertia, the accelerations will be different for different solids. Okay, so you can work it out. So you can work it out. A is equal to this much. Once A is equal to this much, then I can now work out something else also. I can work out that here we are getting what mu mg cos theta is equal to 2 by 5 into m into A. A is 5 by 7 g sine theta. So from here that mg gets cancelled, 5 gets cancelled. So I get mu is equal to 2 by 7 tan theta. This 2 by 7 part comes from geometry. Different geometries will have different mu values. So it may be a good exercise for you to work out for a cylinder, for a disc, for a ring, for a hollow sphere, for a solid sphere. Find out what the accelerations are. Find out what the coefficient of friction is. Okay. My internet is very poor. The current here is going on off. So I don't know how much I'll be able to work it out right now for you guys. You do this exercise. Tomorrow I'm confident we'll be in a much better shape. Tomorrow I will finish up with this. Okay. So please work out this one. Good practice. We have tomorrow. I'll also spend some more time with you, trying to give you some kind of guidance, direction on how we could work for the next 1 month or 40 days. Our exams will be somewhere in the middle of July. So I'll sit with you all and I'll try to make some kind of a timetable so that we are able to focus on our work there. Okay. So I'm sorry today. I'll stop here. I'll see you again, and then we will discuss more problems and more work tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.